AFC and also CNS Channel 6 live by Facebook. It's Friday, May 21st, 2021, a very cold day here in Georgetown, Guyana. So I trust that all pedestrians and those driving, please be safe as you navigate on our roadways. Joining me in studio this afternoon is no stranger. It's the leader of the opposition. We're also expected to be joined by another colleague, the Honorable Kemraj Ramjatan MP, who has responsibility for the agriculture sector. This afternoon, we will be discussing a whole lot of issues on facing the nation that our country is now confronting. Studio with me is the Honorable Joseph Hammond, leader of the opposition. Good afternoon, sir, and welcome to yet another edition of Facing the Nation.
Thank you very much, Annette. And it's indeed my pleasure being here. This is, in fact, as I see it, is a resumption of a very important program where the Guyanese people are brought up to date with the real news, with the facts, with the true information, not the fake news that seems to be coming out from a few buildings across the street from where we are, but the real news. And so I want to thank the management of CNS Channel 6, Mr. Chandranarayan Sharma and Savitri Sharma, for providing us with this opportunity to continue to inform the Guyanese people of the matters which touch and concern their lives and their livelihood. So again, thank you very much for having me here.
You're most welcome, sir. Well, sir, as I said in my opening remarks, that we have a whole lot of issues to discuss this afternoon. And I'm going to commence the discussion with us discussing the matter with the Guyana Police Force. From the time this government took office after August 2020, we would have seen a whole number of infractions being committed by senior officers at the Guyana Police Force. So perhaps, sir, perhaps you can start a conversation with regards to what is happening in the Guyana Police Force. But just before you do so, sir, let me take this opportunity in welcoming the Honorable Mr. Kemraj Ramjatan to this program, Facing the Nation. Welcome to you, sir.
Thanks, and sorry to be 10 minutes late because that traffic out there, and we had a little hold up with stuff.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you very much, sir. But
Yes.
nevertheless, you're here. So over to
Yes.
you.
Yes, I think it's an important matter, and it is a matter, the expert here, the former Minister of Public Security. But let me say that since we came into office, we made it very clear to this installed regime that we were prepared to cooperate on several areas, public security being one of them. And since we came into office, the leader of the opposition office wrote the Commissioner of Police, indicating to him that we would like to meet with him because there were several matters which we were concerned about in that domain. One of those had to do with the level of confidence that the citizens had in the Guyana Police Force and the relationship which the Guyana Police Force had with citizens. We consider that to be very, very critical, since if you don't have a force in which people have confidence in, you will always have a problem. So I just want to, by way of an opening, to say that this is an area on which we've offered our cooperation. It's an area in which Kemraj and several other members of parliament, and I met with the Commissioner of Police and his senior officers, and we did in fact highlight these issues which are now coming to play, which have to do with the training of the policemen, the confidence which the citizens had in the senior police officers, and the fact that we felt that if the example of good policing is not set at the highest possible level, that it will trickle down to the police ranks on the ground. I think it was Brigadier Granger, when he was president, who addressing the senior police officers conference, spoke to the fact that a fish starts to rot from the head. And if your head is not on, if the head starts to rot, then the rest of the fish will go. So I just want to, by way of opening, say those few words, because I know Kemraj actually has the issue on his fingertips. He was a minister with responsibility for this sector, and I'm sure we'll have some very important statements to make on the matter. So Kemraj, over to you, and thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you very much, Leader of the Opposition. It is important to be here and to start this program, Facing the Nation, answering questions, and of course, giving our suggestions out there. Look, I think it is this issue of the persecution of the Police Service Commission members and those senior statesmen of the police force, Whitaker and Conway and Paul Slow and so on. I want to make a statement very clearly this morning that what is happening there is, as I have stated in an earlier broadcast with Mr. Branford Burke, that this is a witch hunt of epic proportions, which will come back to haunt the PPP. They seem not to understand this security sector at all. And when you're going to go after, because you don't have any love and affection for certain senior officers like Paul Slow, who had been, very frontal with them under those troubled times when he had asked questions about the Phantom Squad and so on, and then he was denied promotion to the highest levels and so on. It would appear that they don't like the Paul Slow-led Police Service Commission. And I want members of the public out there to understand that the Police Service Commission was set up under our constitutional entity with an independence of its own to deal with promotions of senior officers, from inspector right up to assistant commissioners, right? And also to deal with disciplinary matters at that higher level. Why we put it that way? Because from our historical experiences, the executive branch made up of the Prime Minister and the President and people like that, they used to like to interfere with these senior leadership positions. So to insulate them from executive, what you call biases and prejudices and so on, you created this Police Service Commission. Same thing we did with Teacher Service Commission and so on. So you have an insulating, what you call a check and balance, the Local Government Commission and so on, because have this attitude of wanting to politicize everything. But when you get that check and balance, it's a good thing. And we all know that the Police Service Commission is now the man Slow. And he was there for a 3-year period that might extend right up to 2022. From 2019, I think he was appointed, and then 2022. So the PPP don't like the decisions he will have to make in relation to promotions and disciplinary matters. So they want to get rid of him. And they're now utilizing what is clearly an arrangement whereby they were asked to deal with issues of enhancing what you call the rules of police force. It's called standing orders, how the police must operate and so how they must log up their miles of gasoline, right up to how they do an arrest. This rule book is a big book like that with all the rules about how policemen should behave. And it was there for a long while. It needed further amendments to take care of the new evolving situation and so on. And so they were asked by Leslie James, who is the commissioner, who has that power to ask them to amend the standing orders. And who else would you ask to amend the standing orders? Senior policemen who administer these rules. And they are from the Police Service Commission. That is one of the functions of the Police Service Commission. And if whilst doing this job asked of them, they are given a certain stipend, about 9 of them, they're given stipends to the tune of $10 million. How could that be a criminal activity? My goodness, these people don't know what they're playing with. And you start this Police Service Commission, it is because you don't want them there. And because you can't terminate them because they have a security of tenure for a 3-year period, they want to humiliate them. And so they want to kind of knock them off or get into their bones and tell them, get off the place so that they will make their appointments and they might put a whole set of jagabats there. So we want it to be understood that Paul Slow is a true professional. Clinton Conway brought a lot of intellectualism into that. And indeed, I understand from Conway this morning that Conway said that they didn't want any money. Conway's a kind of fellow like that. He does his research free. Conway said that he was then offered a stipend for all the hours that he put in. What do you want the people to do? When they take it now, all of a sudden, you're making them criminals? This PPP running mad, quite frankly. Who they should make a charge against is the man that controls the mangrove. Wednesday will be a big high tide. You might see the whole water flood up the whole blasted West Dam. They cut down to about 40 acres now, I understand, from Mahipal, not 20 acres. And we passed a law in 2010 that you must never touch mangrove. It is criminal. You can go to jail and you can get a big fine. And clearly the evidence is there as to what the destruction was. You know, they ain't ordered no police investigation. They ain't charged nobody yet. As a matter of fact, you get one Angel, and what was her name? Indar. Indar saying that is not a criminal activity. That is a developmental activity. What did people do? Did they take guys and pass you or something? What is wrong with these people? And there it is, 9 or 10 true professional men with the expertise, with the experience, now being criminalized. That ain't gonna go down nice in certain quarters. And I want, you know, the arrogance, the rampant arrogance that the PPP is now, dealing with this, with a set of people in Guyana, it is not nice at all. And when you even do the comparisons, all of these are black people. The one that burned down the mangrove there or clear up the mangrove is an East Indian. How do you think people will perceive these activities? And then criminalize them. You want to demonize a certain section of people. You want to create sectarianism in Guyana now? I don't understand these people. And that is why I'm saying, Joe, it is the creation, they literally want to provoke, it seems, an implosion. So it is important that we understand it in that context. This thing is wrong, totally wrong. And I want to make one more point. The guard keeper of criminal charges is Miss Shalimar Haq and myself, and she go back a long, long time. And I am very surprised as the gatekeeper that could have stopped this nonsense, because that is why we created a DPP, also to depoliticize criminal prosecutions. She should have been the gatekeeper to say, but this kind of thing is wrong, police. I am certain if you had a legal advisor like Claudette saying there, Claudette would have blocked it long time. Well, nonsense y'all getting on with. But we have a DPP. I hope that she didn't have anything to do with this. But even if she did, it was a wrong decision. It's in the public's interest that you do not go and in these sensitive areas with tremendous sensibilities and nuances of that nature in a politicized, racialized, ethnicized country to go doing that nonsense. So I am urging that there is some corrective measures on the part of the DPP. And then, to do that to the members of an institution that literally administer the rules in relation to promotions and disciplinary matters, it is not a good thing. It is serious, serious. And the PPP should also appreciate that.
Well, thank you very much, Comrade Ramjatan. You have spoken a whole lot and on this particular matter, and quite, we're all quite sad to see this is the recent attack now on former high-ranking officials of the Guyana Police Force. And if we're to go back to the previous months, you will have seen actions being taken on political leaders, even senior professionals in the GCOM and all other areas. So it's indeed a sad state of affairs to see that the Guyana Police Force is now being used as a political tool or a political arm of the People's Progressive Party Civic. And we in the opposition will continue to call out the infractions being committed by this administration. Comrade Hammond, I don't know if you have anything else to add to what Comrade Ramjatan made mention of.
Yes, I want to add. Because to the extent to which involved in the day-to-day management and administration of the force, it is to that extent that the profession goes south. And we saw that in the early stages when this regime came into office. Ben was actually attempted to question witnesses. Charles Ramson on the phone, giving direction. Is so eroded in that way. The confidence of citizens would no longer be there. because some nonsense that's taking place over there at Freedom House.
Trump, top
The
charge.
point is that you have people like Paul Sonson who are international figures. He's no longer just a senior police officer. Western District, all over the world, he says, there he is, performing. Credited. In fact,
Vilify and defame.
I learned from the attorney actually dealing with the matter that they can't understand the charge yet.
That's correct. Yeah.
Next one. And it's the same thing that happened, Annette, with the charge with yourself and Christopher.
Yeah.
There's some old regulation that they cited without no proper law that's cited in the charges, but bring people to court. So what I want to say is that as citizens of this country, we have to hold our police officers accountable. And that accountability rests in ensuring that you have a police service commission that is functioning, that is staffed by qualified people. And so these bogus charges that they brought against all of these, like Cameron said, I believe that the DP must step in and null trust those charges.
Discontinue. Yeah.
Discontinue it. It was not, it is bad in law. It is not good, it's bad for our society. And just one more point I want to make in this question of the police and the confidence which we have in the police. Look, since the killing of the Henry brothers, Harry Singh, and all of these crimes that have taken place, we have made a point that the police force, they seem to have lost their professionalism along the way. When we were in office, Yamraj can tell you the amount of money we spent training the investigators, sending them all the best practices. And so that when they come here, they can apply that. Saw that during the period 2015 to 2020. You saw a quality of policing that we all felt comfortable with. But now, you know, killing these boys in the Baghdad, people felt comfortable doing that. But now they feel comfortable enough to come right in front of
Court
and kill a man, and nothing seems to happen. Why shouldn't we make the connection that this is either the state is sponsoring it or that the state is complicit in these activities? Because why up to now we can't get a proper investigation report? And so many others over this period of time that would have either would have lost their lives, robbed at the stoplight, the robbed away people go into the house, shoot them, take away the gun, only they are their businessman. And so what is happening here is a certain level of lawlessness that is allowed because you have a police force that's taking the directions for operational matters from the political administration. And they who must charge and who must stay in the laptop for 24 hours or 48 hours or 72 hours. So it is a situation which, as the opposition, that we will continue to speak out on, because this is about our security of our citizens, and the citizens cannot at any time feel uncomfortable with a rank in uniform. When you see a man in uniform, you must feel safe. You must feel protected. But as it stands right now, this is, they're trying to damage that relationship of credibility which ought to exist between the citizen and the police.
Well said,
That's what I would say.
gentlemen. Well said, gentlemen.
Excellent.
The other issue that we in the opposition it concerns the non-holding of frequent parliament. The last parliament was held on the 4th of March 2021 when the 2021 budget was actually approved. From then to now, we haven't had the holding of parliament regularly. So I'll now invite you, Kemraj. So, Kemraj.
It's a de facto prorogation.
Yes.
the PPP is well known historically for this unlawful halt for Parliament scrutiny, whether at the committee stage or whether, you know, the larger National Assembly. So many things could be done, and I'm certain that Joe is going to talk about the numbers of questions and all that. We also have parliamentary committees that have been put on a halt as a result of the speaker saying that this COVID thing is brought a halt to it. It's not a COVID thing. It's scrutiny. So they bring it up, just like when you had that prorogation, they didn't want to go through with it. They don't want us to go through with the questions. They don't want to go through with the very many motions and so on. And so we have gotten a halt. I think that this halt is going to be added on to a period of time when the recess will come. The recess will come at the end of July or August, I think. And then 10th of August, no?
Yes.
10th of August, and then it carries over into October or
10th.
October 10th, right? So you will get nothing from March 3rd or March 10th right up to October the 10th. How much month is that? And when you now want to ask all these very serious questions about police charges to Police Service Commission members, you want to ask about the mangrove, you want to ask about so many things. There is no parliament. But the PPP knows how to block scrutiny. They don't enjoy scrutiny at all. As I said, they're just control freaks. And so it is important then that people appreciate why they don't. So in effect then, it is a prorogation, as I've said.
Thank you very much, Cameron. From a leader, I'll now, bring you into this particular discussion for a fact that you have put out a statement, that really reflect the opposition's concern with the non-polling of the parliament. So
Yes.
share
Thank
with
you
us?
again, yes. And the PPP, they seem to they're treating the office of the Speaker of the National Assembly almost as if it is an annex to Freedom House. And so the Speaker seems incapable of making independent decisions that have to do with the functioning of Parliament. Before 2020 was completed, when we were sworn in on the 2nd of September as MPs, several months passed before Parliament was convened. It was convened until December of 2020. During that period of time, I wrote the International Parliamentary Union and several other international bodies, pointing out that there was a long period of non-convening of Parliament, and that this was damaging parliamentary democracy, that this was creating a situation of a burgeoning dictatorship in this country, and that unless other forces were brought to bear on this Speaker and the PPP regime, that they will continue to ride roughshod over the people's representative in Parliament. Well, the Parliament was convened, and I believe principally in order for them to pass things of the National Assembly. Yesterday, I wrote again to the IP, I wrote to all of the international bodies again, pointing out about the Speaker's action again in what I call a forced closure. Kamraj calls it a sort of prorogation, but I know that's a term of art, so I said it's a forced closure of the Parliament by the Speaker's inability to call sittings of the National Assembly. It's going to be almost 80 days in a few days since our last sitting of the National Assembly, and nothing from him. I have written, in fact, during the course of that time, we have filed over 465 questions for oral answers and for written answers. And we cannot get a response because the ministers don't feel compelled to do so because Parliament is not sitting. And these are areas with respect to public security, health, economics, the environment, education, foreign relations. All of these are major issues which require answer.
Yes.
And the Speaker, by not allowing these, allowing Parliament to meet, is now giving a coverage, in my view, to these ministers to continue to act without that scrutiny which Parliament brings. So I've written about that, and I also wrote about the two parliamentary secretaries who are sitting there in Parliament as members of Parliament in defiance of an order of court that was made in April that says that they are there unlawfully. I wrote the Speaker about that. I sent a copy of the court order, and I'm still awaiting him to take action. So all of these I've cited in a letter which is now going to receive wide circulation. But let me say this, that the non-sitting of the National Assembly has not prevented members of Parliament from reaching out to their constituents. So over this period, we have had over 85 community engagements in regions 5, 2, 3, 10, and on the East Coast. This weekend again, we're out. And these engagements are meant to keep the public and to keep these communities informed about what is happening and to get from them what are their views on how we proceed to deal with this gridlock. I believe that the PPP, they're afraid to meet with us in the Parliament.
That's right.
They're afraid. They're afraid of this quality of advocacy.
That's right.
The sort of questions and so on that we have from this group of members of Parliament. I believe this is one of the best group of MPs I have worked with. And they're young, they're vibrant, and there's a good mixture. And so every time we go into the National Assembly, as if the PP, they go there with trepidation. Yes, so Lord, what these people coming with now? So I just want to make this point very clear that in our view, that what is happening is wrong. That the Speaker must do what is right and call sittings of the National Assembly. You can't hide behind COVID. They've been having virtual meetings. Even the committee meetings which are virtual, he stopped it, claiming about some infrastructure cost. It's a lot of nonsense. A lot of nonsense. And he hasn't been able to respond in any sensible way to the fact that the budget for my office has been cut, and not cut by him, but cut by instructions from the other office, not this one on this one side, the other one up the road. Right? And now I understand we having a program here, and the same man who is ordering everything who is called the leader of Guyana, is he calling himself. I saw some post the other day showing Irfan Ali's president, Mark Phillips is prime minister, Barrow Jaggers leader of Guyana. He's not no leader for me. He's not no leader for the bulk of Guyana. He's a damager. He's damaged this country in a very serious way during his term of office.
Yes.
He left Guyana what was called a tattered legacy. So I don't know what he's going to the conference center now to tell people, but whatever he says there, we can answer him. If it's not here today, it's tomorrow or any other day. Because he's discredited. And he's sitting there behind, trying to run the presidency by remote control. And so when the people seeing Irfan Ali out there as president, he running it from behind.
Yeah.
So he has no obligation, but all he got is power. And this has to stop. Too many people are facilitating him. Too many businesses who feel that they must go to his house and beg pardon and bow down on their knees to him if they want to do business in Guyana. It should not be. It's wrong. He doesn't own Guyana. He is now what we call the temporary stewards of the national patrimony. That's what they're temporary stewards. And when you're a temporary steward, you can't behave like if you own something. You don't own this country, you don't own the people. So I don't know we're going up a conference center to talk about, but whatever we talk about, we can answer.
Yeah, I just want to add a little point there. The various branches of government, executive, legislative, and judiciary, at least the two branches, executive, the cabinet works by Zoom, the technologies that we have.
Exactly.
The court system is working as best as it can with the use of Zoom and all of that. We saw that by virtue of the cases that we had, elections, petitions, and so on. Why is it that Parliament can't work in a similar fashion? We could be at home just via the Zoom and the technologies, whatever it's StreamYard or StreamLive or whatever it is called. It is important that we utilize these technologies to get the fundamental institutions of our government and governance working. And we have that. But as I said, it is controlling. And as we have so many times said, is that there behind all of this thing and he controlling this thing? And too many people are allowing him to have a heyday in relation to this thing. It is not right. Irfan should tell him, you're a private citizen now. You remember, that I was there, said that. I mean, the president should be using him now. But the man all powerful, he feel that he's the little god. They got for Surhawe, the Hindu word, Surhawe. And they got plenty of people out there who wants that kind of thing to happen. We are a liberal democracy. We are a secular democracy. And we mustn't allow this kind of tribalism, kind of personality approaches to our politics. It will take us nowhere. We must understand that we have to reason things out, engage the opposition, engage civil society, and rather have a Putinian there.
Gentlemen, if I may just take my bit here, it is how the parliament has now been treated. And I want to say to the members listening to us out there, from the day 12th Parliament commenced, we also had sit-ins being done by Zoom, because I attended.
That's right, yeah.
The National Assembly using the virtual platform. We also had committees of the National Assembly meeting virtually. But you know what is happening? As you gentlemen rightfully put, it's all about controlling. It's all about not wanting to be held accountable using the parliamentary system. Because when you look at what is happening, the ministers are going into the regions, claiming they're launching the goal initiative and still meeting with a whole set of young people in selected areas and amongst every other thing. So we will be holding the government and also the Speaker of the National Assembly accountable, and we will continue to demand that Parliament be reconvened so that the people's business can be continued. Gentlemen, the other issue I wish for us to discuss here this afternoon has to do with the high cost of living. It is something that is, that we in the opposition have taken very seriously. Reason being, for 2020, public servants had no increase in salaries. For 2021, still no increase in salaries, but yet we're being told that a 10 billion has been set aside in the 2021 budget to pay public servants. I know for a fact, Comrade Leader, that 2 weeks ago, you did an outreach or a walkabout in two markets. So you were in the East Rumsfeld market and also in the border market.
Yes.
You met with both vendors and buyers. Can you share with the viewers what were some of the expressions explained by those people?
That's very good question, Annette. But even before I get there, just let me make one last question on this Jacksonville initiative. And what I see is there's a set of contracts being signed. And when we were in administration, after cabinet meetings, we had a post-cabinet press conference where we explained to the people what we did in cabinet, what decisions were made, what contracts were awarded, who got those contracts, what were they for, and all of that.
And the cost.
And the cost that's connected to it. This regime, they are entering the contracts, they are making decisions, they are signing these decisions unlawfully, and Gail Teixeira continues to breach the Constitution by signing these cabinet memoranda that she's not entitled to sign. The law is made very clear in this matter. And she's the next one that we're going to have to carry to court for making these rulings, signing these cabinet documents, giving instructions to the various arms of government. And the Constitution says very clearly who must sign this thing. It says that the cabinet secretary is to sign it, and that person must be a public servant. And it says that the minister is not a public servant.
Yeah.
So she can't sign it, and she continues to do it in violation of the Constitution. But let me say something that I believe what happens now is that when they want to sign some contract for some bogus business or something, one people know, they create a sort. Okay, so you have the population running behind who get charged and who get charged, and in the back rooms, they're signing billions of dollars away on the environment. If and at least signing billions of dollars in what we call carbon credits with some company in America, saying that this company is a not-for-profit organization, but still they're transacting this billions, something million US, and these are carbon credits. This is our environment again that they are damaging, and they are selling. They just see this thing as a business, and you got to make money off it. Yeah. So that is the important thing. And in doing that, they have no regard for the small man. The small man is basically a stepping stone just to get into office, so that at election time, they step on him to get a vote, to get into office, and thereafter, all they do, they deal with their friends and their families and their cronies. So that the plight of the small man, this is what we are dealing with. And when you spoke about mine going through the markets, this is because people who are coming to the office and leave the office complaining that the cost of living is going up. If you check a basket of goods, you will see what has happened over the last 3 months. Let me give you some quick examples on it. Sugar, which is produced right here in Guyana, right? From $80 a pound in December, in the last 3 months, got up to $100 a pound. Right? A bag used to be 110. It got 110 pound bag was $7,900. Now it got to $8,500 a bag. Rice, which is grown here, $1,400 a bag. now it's 1,500 and it's going to increase to 1,550
Yeah.
in a short time. China, milk, Nuterra, which is like a milk that a lot of poor people use. Until few weeks ago, it was 450. Now it's 500. And I think it's going to 525 in another week or so. So you have China, split peas, black eye. These are things that ordinary people use. Each one of the price going up. Meat is worse.
Yes. So, Comrade Leader, I know you, if I allow you on this particular issue.
Yes, it is important.
Yes, I know it is important, but you know, we're into like 9 minutes into program time. And I really want us to touch on a sore issue that is affecting our people. But Comrade Leader, I don't know if you want to take 60 seconds just to
wrap up
on cost
Yes,
of living.
cost of living. Because as I said, what is happening now, and then small people, poor people buy things often and they buy in small amounts.
Yeah.
So that sometimes when you sell a bag of tennis shoes that got 10 or 12 tennis shoes inside it, they have to now bust that down. And you buy 2 or 4 tennis shoes out of that bag. And this is the plight of our ordinary people. When they go to buy beef price gone all through the window. And much of this is because the foreign companies that are here now in Guyana. In fact, your manager was telling me this morning about what was happening on the quarantine.
That's right.
But the same thing about groceries and fruits and vegetables.
Yes.
Right? So while they're talking about opening all these new fancy supermarkets. The small man in the market, the small businesses that need help, they can't get help. And so what I'm saying, I'm calling again on the government, on the regime, to find a way of providing a grant for small businesses, for vendors. Give them a grant, a COVID grant, like you're giving to the communities, the indigenous communities. As I said before, I'm happy that the indigenous communities are getting money. But they must do the same thing in other communities. You promise to give people 25,000, you give some of them a pink slip. Up to now they can't cash it. But you go into another community, you give them 10 million, 12 million, and tell them you all make sure you spend it.
Okay.
This is terrible. And we have to take a stand on this matter. It's terrible. Right? And they can't just believe they will take this money. This is our money, you know, and just give it to who they want to give it as a grant. You have to get a better situation on this. They got to bring another set of COVID relief, another set of grant, but it must be properly administered.
Absolutely.
So that the people who are punishing get it.
Yes, sir. Okay, I heard you loud and clear, and we in the opposition will continue to press the government to ensure that all measures are put in place to cushion what is happening. Gentlemen, I now would like to turn our attention to COVID.
Yes.
COVID-19. We have 5 minutes remaining into program time. So let us see how best we can consolidate this discussion on COVID. Gentlemen, you will agree with me that the first case Guyana came to Guyana was on March the 11th, 2020. And we were then in the government. And we would have put systems in place to deal with COVID. But we have seen from then to now that the numbers continue to skyrocket. That when we left on the 2nd of August 2020, it was 21. Today, it is now 349. And I have here on record that Jagdeo apparently at his press conference, and this is what he has stated. For the reason, or he's saying why the economy is slow is as a result of COVID. Can I get your views on this?
He must say that, you see, because I understand he has prevented the governor of the Bank of Guyana from publishing the first quarter reports, which shows what has happened to this economy under him,
Yes.
under his direct watch. So you gotta find an excuse about COVID. But listen, COVID is not something to play with. COVID has affected all of us. right? And too many of our brothers and sisters, our friends, our neighbors have died from this. And so as an opposition, we want to express our deepest sympathy to those persons who have lost close relatives and friends and communities that would have lost the valuable service of some of these persons who died because of COVID. So it is not something to play with. We believe that this isn't one issue on which, as a nation, we should come together
That's right.
and work. But this administration, the thing is spiraling out of control, but they don't want to have cooperation. They want to make sure that they got their hand on the money, they got their hand on the vaccine and everything. And I said at a point, since we have a very short time to wrap up here, that we want to encourage all our people to be safe, to ensure that you mask up, social distancing, washing of hands, and sanitizing. But more importantly, that those persons who have availability to the vaccine, that you should take that vaccine.
Yes.
This is what we are going to put out very shortly, a public service announcement to that effect. And this is what we are saying in the opposition. But what we have also recommended is that the national task force and the regional task force must have elements of the opposition and civil society. But they believe they can handle it themselves, and they're making a mess of the job, making a mess of it. Last point I want to make is that we have a population, an indigenous population, in very many parts of the country that sometimes they're not all at the same place at the same time. So if you give them one vaccine and you go back, you may very well find them because of the employment or because of the way in which they live, they hunt and fish and all of that. You don't find them there. Now, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, as I understand it, is a one-shot vaccine. And I want to call on the regime to join with Keith Rowley, who is, I believe, currently the chairman of CARICOM, and press the United States for vaccines. President Biden has already said he's prepared to offer, I don't remember the figure, but we are entitled to a certain amount. And so what I'm saying is that ask for Johnson & Johnson. They're going to find some way of authorizing it because it is being used in America. And so I think that that is a practical way of dealing with that situation for many of our citizens who might just take one shot and you can't find them for the next shot. But that Johnson & Johnson is very important, and I want to put this call out that the regime, they must keep pressuring CARICOM, and that CARICOM must keep pressuring the U.S. State Department, the Western Hemisphere Department, for them to make sure that we get some of that vaccines that President Biden spoke about, making possible for countries like us to get it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I just want to, just 1 minute, to indicate. We got 236 million US dollars in a Federal Reserve Bank, and we punish it in Guyana. That is the nastiness of Jack Dale when he do not want to go into that fund, Natural Resource Fund Act, that create, of course, a set of scrutineers to ensure that we spend the money properly. Why should we be punishing with this high cost of living, which has an inflationary effect? So if you're carrying home $60,000 now, you might not be able to pay your rent as you used to because so much of food bill will go up. So please, I am saying, engage the opposition. Let us be together in how we get out of this crisis by utilizing the oil monies. What are we doing with that? A portion certainly we go for our next generation. It is about 40–50% to begin with. But 50% of $236 million, we can put our hands on that because this is the exact kind of emergency that will require stimulus for. And the stimulus is there. And you don't want to go there simply because you feel that the Public Accountability Committee is going to scrutinize you. So you'll have to give everybody the money rather than how you do the first COVID distribution. Look, Daniel, the people just control that he wants. We need a united front in relation to that natural resource fund that can help this situation.
Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. Well said. You know, time has caught up on and on. So I guess we would leave the other issues for subsequent. I want to say, so all into us via, you know, the television, the radio, the three of us here. We have taken our vaccine, and we want to encourage all Guyanese to take the vaccine. You've heard from the leader of the opposition who said, from the opposition's standpoint, we will be putting out a public service announcement, which would, you know, give far more information so that you can proceed to take your vaccine. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me here on Facing the Nation, sharing with our people what is happening here in our country. And I do look forward to you joining me here in subsequent programs.
Thanks so much,
Ladies,
sir.
viewers, you're most welcome. Viewers, this is all for now on Facing the Nation. With me in studio, I have the Honorable Joseph Herman, leader of the opposition. And to his right, we were joined with the Honorable Kemraj Ramjatan, MP, leader of the AFC, and also Shadow Minister for the agriculture sector. We do look forward to you joining us next week, Friday, May 28, 2020, at 12:30 p.m. for another edition of Facing the Nation with the leader of the opposition. Gentlemen, I know just before we go, next Wednesday will be Guyana's 55th independence anniversary. So I would like to, you know, say in advance, happy independence anniversary to all Guyana. So once again, thank you for joining us, and we do look forward to seeing you next Friday for another program of Facing the Nation with the leader of the opposition. I'm yours, Annette Ferguson. May God richly bless us all. Thank you.
Thank you. Good.